Good evening, and welcome to Lord Gugu's stream. Consider becoming a subscriber today to access the exclusive Stephen Sondheim Twitch emote. Tonight's performance of Musical Theater is Good Actually will run approximately 90 minutes with one intermission. And tonight, the role of co-host will be played by Harrison Smith, and the role of guest will be played by Matt Wood. Please take this time to silence your cell phones and note all emergency exits. If you are interested in becoming an audience... Oh wait, no, that was from last week's show. Please disregard. Also, in case you got any ideas from watching this week's show and are intending to drag me into the evening's proceedings to perhaps sacrifice me to a giant, don't even fucking try it. I will come through there as this... an disembodied god mic voice and kill you myself. So now please enjoy Musical Theater is Good Actually. Oh no, you can't hear it. One moment. We meant for this to happen. And we're back. Please enjoy Musical Theater is Good Actually. Fuck what the haters say, it's good actually. Evening or matinee, they're good to me. Musicals, you may think you can't be swayed about plays where they're singing, so you must watch Gugu, for you've much to learn about what they can be. And musical theater, we must infer, is good actually. We are here for another week. Hello. It's just Harrison, it's just you right now. You're up with me.
Hey, I just had to say, shout out to the chat and shout out to the mods who already gave me a 10-minute ban.
It was me.
Yeah, shout out to the mods. Everybody, Bobby is a cop.
You said the banned word. You can't try to get away around it. I will time you out for 10 minutes. You said the banned word. We're gonna get into a pit of talking about it, and we can't. Before I bring out our guest, I do want to hype that I have a new Spotify playlist, and it is exclusively songs from I'm copying it to put in the chat now. It's exclusively songs from I said 21st century. There's some like as early as like 1990, but it's, turn of the century and into the beginning of the and I called On the 21st Century, which is a musical reference because there's one called on the 20th. All right, enough of this. This sucks. This is really, really bad broadcasting right now. So I'm going to, switch to the doc so that, of course, blasts out my very pale skin. All right, our guest tonight, he has been on Broadway as an understudy for the original Broadway cast of SpongeBob SquarePants, the musical, which we recently discussed, and was Augustus Gloop in the national tour of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we are excited to welcome this longtime lurker out of the shadows. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, and everything in between and else, please join me in welcoming Matt Wood. Hey! Lurking no longer.
I know, lurking dark. I've been like a lifelong lurker, so it's a great habit.
I mean, the lurker life is tempting,
it's a hard life.
Just kind of letting everybody else stir the pot and just kind of, all right,
exactly.
I'll observe.
I'll go out there and be Augustus Gloop,
Right.
8 times a week, and then like let
Exactly.
everybody else do their bullshit.
Right. I'm off. I can't be. I'm off then. Yeah, that's great.
Well, it's good to know there's Slurp Fam on Broadway on the Great White Way.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it is good. I like the timing of Jack AM starting and SpongeBob kind of happened at about the exact same time.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
I think so. I think that's correct. I could be wrong on that. But like, so I'm going in terrified to these rehearsals every day. And it was like nice to have like this little thing to watch,
So
and I
how
just kind of
I do just want to ask you a little bit about SpongeBob off the top, just
sure.
because I mean I'm fascinated, especially because we just talked about it, and also you were, and this is how this sort of all came to be because you DM'd me and you were like, hey, just so you know, like I was fucking in SpongeBob, and I was like, wow, shit, I should like have you on, but I was like already playing this whole show with Megaspell, but I was like, all right, well I'm getting you on as soon as
It
possible.
it felt weird at that point to not say anything.
Yeah.
So I was
So it
like,
was
well, that's
awesome.
officially weird.
You were in the chat giving us little inside tidbits, little inside info. Oh, my cats are already thinking about starting shit. I think it's all right right now. Sorry. um, so that was just awesome. How many times like did you actually go up?
So I only went on for Patrick once.
Okay.
And that was like very scary. It was like our last show of the year before New Year's Eve, and I had about 45 minutes
Wow.
and like no rehearsal basically to go in for it, just kind of like because we'd only been open for a couple weeks at that point. So I only got to do that once. Danny, who played Patrick, was like an amazing workhorse and extremely rarely called out. He only called out one other time, and they put the other guy on. But I went on for Mr. Krabs, I think 55 times,
Oh wow,
which
that's
was a
cool.
lot. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I got to do 2 weeks of it to myself.
And that's a really fun
Um,
track too. I mean, like.
it was a really fun track. It's
I
this
mean, I don't
nonstop.
imagine there's not a fun track in that show. I mean, you're
I
kind of
mean,
like being a silly kid the entire time was very much the
yes.
energy.
I mean, all of Act 1 especially is like a complete marathon. So like the first 30, 45 minutes of the act, everyone's just like you don't have a second to like say or do anything. You're just like, "Oh my god, I got to go under the stage, around to the outside of the stage, like change
Yeah.
my costume." So yes, it did become especially like the Mr. Krabs track was so top loaded.
Hmm.
You really had like all of your hard stuff for about 45 minutes and then you were done. And then you could just kind of like chill the rest of the show.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great. It's one or the other. Doing
yeah,
the something, yeah, front loaded, or doing like a huge number like towards the end that like steals the entire show. Like
exactly.
either of those.
Patrick was kind of like that too, where his like first act was a little involved,
Hmm.
and then act two is like,
Right, it really becomes like Sandy and SpongeBob for a lot of
yes, you
Act
got to
Two.
sing "I Guess I Miss You," which was like a great song to sing,
Hmm.
and then you just fly in and just do the end of the show.
So when did you come in the process of like the Broadway like development for that? Like how like when were you cast as an understudy?
I auditioned for the show originally when it was going to Chicago, and they brought me in for Patrick, and it was just like one of those complete one and dones. Just like I did my song once, I read my side once. They're like goodbye, and I didn't hear anything for like 2.5 years after that. And then it just like always happens this way. They were like, we need somebody to like cover Patrick and Krabs like stat. So I came in for one audition. Um, they called me like that night and were like, "Can you come in like in one more day and bring the Patrick sides and the Mr. Krabs sides?" And I was like, "Okay." And then it was like booked within 24 hours,
Yeah,
which
it's
it's
hear
like
nothing for 2.5 years, and then it's like a flurry of activity in a 24
yeah,
hour span, and it's like okay, and now your life's different for the next several
exactly.
months or however long. Yeah.
But that was also the time that they were bringing me in to like just play Mr. Krabs for a while, and then they're like, "Okay, you've got the show, but you're a swing." And I was like, "Well, I can't do that because I can't dance like the people can dance in the show." So that was like the most I was just like on edge until we were about halfway through the rehearsal process because they weren't telling us like who you cover.
Oh
or
yeah.
anything. Like I knew I covered Krabbs and
So
Patrick,
you had the
but other than
potential
that,
to have to like know all the different
yes.
ensemble dance tracks and stuff. Ugh, no.
And like you
Ugh.
still have to know, like, because anything can
Right.
happen, and like
It's
anything
all
did
hands on
happen.
deck if
Yes, there were
like there
like
was a deadly
multiple.
plague. Oops, maybe not the best timing.
Exactly. And there were like multiple times that we had like split tracks at SpongeBob where, you'd have to just be like backstage to like grab a prop or do like one little dumb thing, and it's like, well, I've never done this before, but let's give it a shot.
Yep.
So like what's then so then what's your day to day like when it's running? You just kind of are waiting for your phone, like you wait for, I mean, Harrison has done a lot of understudying for equity shows. I haven't for an equity show, but I've understudied, and I've actually, this is a fun little tidbit, I've understudied Harrison. And just like Patrick Starr, he was a workhorse, so I never had to actually go on for Harrison. I had to go on for the other two tracks that I covered for Here in Town, that show.
It's a great show.
But yeah, it's what's your like day to day? Are you waiting for a call, or you have to call to check in? How does that go?
You are just waiting for a call. I mean, it's not even a call. It's just like a text from the stage manager that just says like on for Krabbs tonight, and it's like, oh, okay.
And that is what
But
it is. Yep.
other than that, like everything is like so taken care of for you. You just go to that person's dressing room, your version of the costume's there, and you just got to know how to do the part.
Is that cool to have your own version of, because those costumes are awesome. Like, is it cool to have your own version of like the Krabbs
It definitely is. And like also because SpongeBob was cast with such variety and like body positivity in mind.
It really is like one of the, I think I said this, like one of the most diverse casts like I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like watching
And that was
it,
like
yeah.
that was a really wonderful thing about it. That was one of the best things about doing it. But like I'm, a foot shorter than Danny, who played Patrick. So like I looked funny in my like little miniature Patrick costume. I was even like a little bit shorter than Brian, who played Mr. Krabs. So like, yeah, it changes everything. And then I also covered Old Man Jenkins in the ensemble.
Okay.
And Perch Perkins. And so I got to go on for Old Man Jenkins twice. I never did Perch Perkins, which was devastating because I wanted to wear that like stripy TV suit.
Oh my gosh, that costume was one of the best ones. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it is a lot of wait around in here.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is like, I never got a mid show, but I would get, 20 minutes before the show sometimes.
Yeah.
Mr. Krabs was like it's a small role, but it was like deceptively hard to like sing and get through just putting on the character voice.
Right. Yeah. So. I can imagine doing that, having to sustain that kind of a voice is.
Yes.
I was actually thinking about that with Brian Darcy James with Shrek too, having to keep this like thick, like, and the gravelly Scottish brogue through the whole thing, and still have a voice of an angel like he does. How does he do it? He's magic.
And that's an actual like really hard role to sing.
It's like deceptively hard because it just sounds like he's kind of brassily like baritone, but
yeah,
it's all right. Since I'm now a full-on Shrek stan, and it's joined Dream Roll territory, I'll get it. I'll work to those notes. Don't worry about it.
Right before pandemic happened, it was like that January, February. A friend asked me to like play Shrek in like a smaller regional production in North Carolina. And I was like, oh, I just got done with tour. I just like can't do it. I need like a little break, and I regret it so much.
It's all right. I'm gonna start my own theater company, and the first show we're gonna do is Shrek, my new favorite show.
Perfect.
I mean, it isn't my new favorite show, but I do love Shrek. I really do. And I think that it's the best version of the story is the musical, not the movie. That's my.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
All right. Well, without further ado, okay. Now this is the part where we unceremoniously make Harrison smaller a little bit and then put him in the corner. Sorry, buddy. You're in the corner now because we got to get to know you even better. I'm really glad I just got to get some of that SpongeBob info, and feel free to drop that whenever and
sure.
get a lot more of your background through our of course, our world famous musical quiz. Still haven't updated any graphics, any questions, anything. I'm just going on autopilot at this point.
Oh, it's
with
famous,
this stuff.
for God's sake.
It's famous.
Bob.
If I changed anything, the letter writing campaign, I wouldn't be able to handle it. So, Matt, we'll start off, and I can guess what you're going to answer for this one, but it's a formality. Let's still get it out of the way. Which statement do you agree with more of these two statements? Musical theater is the pinnacle of human achievement as the purest and most complete synthesis of all art and performance. Or, musical theater is an abomination before God and man and destroying us as a society and human race.
Okay, and I've just got to pick one, right?
Yeah, which is more closer to your opinion?
Okay, well, definitely the more positive one is closer to my opinion.
But you can see the case that can be made for option two.
I've seen the case be made many a time.
Firsthand, you've been a party to it. Harrison, have you been a witness to number two before? Number two on stage.
I stand by that the existence of number two answers that number one is true. Like, the fact that number two can be true means it might be the best thing.
It's the Force. There's dark side, and then the light side.
Oh.
And Stephen Sondheim, his midichlorians are off the charts. All right, so.
Wow.
Harrison got me this shirt.
It's amazing.
It was the last time. Okay, so wait. Actually, sorry to take a pause from your quiz for a second.
It's all right.
Just because I forgot to bring this up. Is that Harrison and I got to hang out yesterday. It was awesome in person. It was for the first time since he came to see me in Ordinary Days, and we smoked in the parking lot in February.
We should say that we live across the street from each other. So
yeah, and then Harrison moved across the street from me in January, and this was the first time we hung out because we got our first dose of we finally were vaccinated enough. We're like, all right, we can do this now, and it was great. So I'm just
awesome.
Just wanted to commemorate that. That was really, really great to get to do.
That's great. I got my second dose on Tuesday, and I'm counting down the days to go see my grandmother and all my stupid friends.
That's awesome. Let's actually get just more of your general background. So I'm hearing we found out just before the stream that all three of us are Maryland boys, born and bred or whatever, raised, and so you're from the Eastern Shore. Down by the ocean.
Yeah, down by the ocean, hon.
And
come get some crab cakes.
And so you're from that a ways. Then where did you go to college? Because that's always, of course, the $1 million questions when it comes to musical theater, right?
I went to NYU.
Okay.
I did Tisch at NYU, and I did. I was one of the last people to do the Cap 21.
Were you at Tisch while Kate was?
Oh yes, 100%. But I've thought about Kate was 1 year younger than me, and my roommate also watches the Jack AM stream, and he also went to NYU with me, and he's messaged her a few times.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Kate is the godmother of this stream, of course. We acknowledge that always.
Yeah, I've been trying to dig in my memory, if I saw her.
Well, Tisch
there.
is a huge program.
It's massive. It's massive. But in the Tisch building, if you're doing stuff in the building, you do see a lot of people, and people stick out. I don't know why.
You were doing the musical theater program specifically?
Yes, I was in Cap 21 my first 3 years, and then I studied abroad in London at RADA for a semester, and then I came back and did the showcase at Cap 21.
That's awesome. Did you know somebody named Luke Smith?
Luke Smith. I don't think
because he's also a Marylander that went to NYU, and he's been on Broadway.
Luke Smith.
And actually,
he just did the To Kill a Mockingbird that they did at MSG. I'm pretty sure. Madison Square Garden.
Well, he was also in it was a play. I forget the name of the play, but he's been on Broadway a couple times, I think. Because the original show we talked about doing today, Les Mis. He was in with me when I was a little wee baby. We talked about that actually on the last episode. Um, yeah, and he was Jean Valjean in that, and he's really awesome. I think he
do
also
know
has
him.
a great band. Sometimes I check out his music. It's really good. Speaking of checking out their music, check out Harrison's music. We're going to check out some of it when we go to break in a little bit, everybody. I'm all over the place, as always. As always, no focus, one bit. So back to this question.
I should bring it back in. I should be being like a good check and balance as a co-host to be like, we got to bring it back in.
I'm off the reservation. I mean, I shouldn't say that. That's a fucked up thing to say. I'm sorry. I'm really
All right,
sorry.
everybody. I'm taking over from here.
Cancel me.
Run the slides.
Okay, I'm unmuted. All right. So, like you were saying, Harrison, the existence of having to ask is musical theater an abomination before God and man. That you can ask that question does say that we need it. We need people to fight for it, kind of. So, are you one of those people that like there's good musicals and bad musicals, and like you have like yours that you fight for, kind of?
Was that for Matt?
I guess.
Sorry, I thought it was for Harrison.
Well, it's okay. I was like, I've been a guest on here and talked about musicals a bunch, so I want to defer to Matt as much as possible.
Like, yeah, I don't really know.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's great.
Hit me with it one more time, Bobby.
So are you somebody that you love, like you can find greatness in any musical sort of or something that's great about it, or do you think like there's bad shows, there's good shows, or is it about approach or something?
Unfortunately, I do think that there are like bad shows.
Yeah.
Which like, I would never, it has nothing to do with like anybody's work ever. It's just like that the show is bad and they've been working really hard on it, and like it's just unfortunately inherently bad. And
it's usually just like from the outset, like what the central idea of it is or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you should have known that it's not something that's going to resonate, or it's not something that needs to be done or whatever.
And sometimes like these shows, like make it quite far, It felt like when I was like just out of college, almost like those shows would get like caught in like Nymphland or something, the New York Musical Theater Festival, where there'd be like a concert production of it for a week, and that was like that. But like, I don't know. I think that some of those shows, it's good. Everyone should like work and do their thing and, be happy. But like, I feel like those shows have like broken through a little bit more now.
Yeah.
And sometimes, who cares about my opinion? But yeah, I think they're bad. There's bad shows.
Right. Well, I mean, like, to your point, it's such, especially on the level that, you've worked on Broadway and stuff, and like seen that, like, it's such an endeavor, like an ordeal to even just get it to the stage that like there's so many producers and interests that are in on like this, that there's it's a spreadsheet where they're like, these are the quadrants we're hitting, and the people that we know these people can see this, like these types of shows, or blah 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 blah.
Yes.
And like, and so you get either like off Broadway or little black box productions of a piano and 4 people in a small intimate little song cycle, or you get Mean Girls the musical or whatever, which I don't know. I don't really know show.
You get basically a black box. You get a black box show, and then like the entire set is LED screens that like move around behind it.
Right. Well, and then the little black box show will be a critical darling, and so they put it on Broadway, and then then it's like a huge, like, they still keep the little black box, but then that breaks away after the second number. And
but it's just like these panels that like are moving around, and it's like, wow.
I just see the passing strange like light backdrop like that.
Well, now I do, but that is one of my all-time favorite shows.
Me too.
That show, like, I was a freshman in college when I saw that, and that like really hooked me. I was like, okay, we are doing like real stuff on Broadway.
Yeah.
This is like a funky downtown show.
It's tragically, I think, an anomaly more than anything. It's more the exception. I think that's something.
To me, it definitely is
and cool.
It is the exception, and it's also like like a, I don't know if it's hopefully not a dying gasp of that like public theater off Broadway, reach to Broadway kind of pipeline, you know.
Yeah, well, because especially with band uh, word, band phrase,
The band's
the
visit.
the no, no, the no word, the show that shall not be named, coming
Wait,
from
what is it? What is it? I can't remember.
coming
The
from.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
It's this small little show. It's like he did a really subversive thing where the slave-owning racist
Oh,
founding
that's
fathers were
right.
played by actors of color. I
And
don't know if you've heard
I
of it.
Anything
must
but the
say,
Libertarian musical.
Yeah, there's
I
a,
have been on the right side of that, since like 2014, 2015. I never liked it,
I
All my
did like
friends
it.
thought I
I
was
do
you
still
did?
kind of like it, but I hate it also. I feel both ways about it. I'm of every opinion, so I
Yeah.
can't be
Did,
wrong.
did, did you ever see it on stage?
No, I didn't. I
I
saw
did.
the bootleg a long time ago, and then I saw of course, the Disney Plus.
Right. When did you see it, Harrison?
I saw it probably 4 months after the last original cast member left and Brian Darcy James came back.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's tight.
he was so good.
He was awesome. I thought the show was kind of flat, though, to be
I s-
honest with you.
I saw it around then too, and it was like I've had friends who do it,
Mhm.
like it's a great show. Please hire me. But yeah, it's super flat. Like since the original cast left, I think the touring casts are really strong, but like on Broadway, it
Mhm.
was like,
Well, it
Yes.
also was really weird because it was the first and most commercialized experience I've had in that there were people walking up and down the aisles hawking merch, and I hadn't seen that in a house that I'd been to yet. Maybe I just
right.
haven't been to the right shows, but it was truly like almost like Taylor Swift, like hawking Skittles, that old meme of somebody like selling Skittles up and down the aisles. When
Yeah.
I went, it was really weird, but I mean, obviously everybody on stage was great. I think maybe that I don't know. Maybe I got so like used to hearing
I
it
mean,
with
this
the
is
original
like
voices.
an issue I have as somebody that like really, loves the whatever the art form, whatever you want to do, where like where I'm really like into the show, and so I almost like have too high. It's not that too high of expectations or something, but it's like I know that when I'm performing, I'm like these people are here, like this is their night, and so like I should give it. And it's not that other actors aren't, but it's like sometimes, and it's just like the natural like way of doing 8 shows a week or whatever, if that you have to pace yourself, you have to know how much to give, like especially this is something I learned a lot from Patti LuPone's autobiography, one of my favorite books. One of my favorite podcasts, I should say, listening to the audiobook of her memoir. um, as she talks about how like like you're 100%, you're 110%, like you're, and like how to dial that and when to just like turn it all the way off to like to recharge, kind of. And that's like an insane way of having to sort of like think. But when you go to see a show, sometimes it feels like this is just very rote at a point, because it has to be. And so that's the impossible thing about being an actor, is you'll never
Yeah, I
have
mean,
it not be rehearsed,
I
because
I
it
think the
is.
trick. I think like the trick to that is like you just always have to have like phenomenal leads, to like really anchor the show. Somebody who has that mentality, and if you have that, then like you'll probably be safe. But I never had the 8 show week experience until doing the Charlie tour, and that
And
was
touring is a whole other story. And Harrison has also toured as well. Really, this is just you and Harrison should be best friends. So I'm really just like setting up friendship here, is what this show is.
What did you tour with, Harrison?
I toured a show at the Kennedy Center called Me Jane, which is about Jane Goodall when she was a young girl. It's written by Aaron Posner and
Oh, cool.
this horror movie composer. It was truly cool music and stuff like that. Yeah, cool show.
That's awesome.
But touring is fucking brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew to love it because I mean, it was one of those things we were talking about. Like, I got like a plum little sweet track where I had like, I think it was
Oh yeah, because you're a Gustus Gloop. You're out first.
Oh, Augustus Gloop. He's out of there, baby. I was done 16 minutes into Act 2.
Oh, that's great.
So all I did was like I entered.
You have like a
third of the
little
way
cameo
through
in like the first act at some point.
You enter in the first act. All the kids have a song,
Mm-hmm.
So I had like my song. You do that, then you show up for the end of Act 1, where there's like the big end of Act 1 finale, and then I had 16 minutes of like hard, like breathless, Act 2 to go, and then I went down my little slide and I was done. Oh, it's great. I was back drinking wine with the actress who played my mom.
Now wait, I don't remember. Did on Broadway when they did Charlie and Chocolate Factory, did they have like adults playing the kids too, or was that just for that was in the Broadway one too? I don't remember.
Yes, they did. They did the kids on Broadway too. It was
Okay.
it was a pretty direct translation of the Broadway set, except they made a couple big technical changes. Like every other show, they implemented a bunch of like LED panels, in the wings to do a lot more with the set.
Yeah.
And I can't talk too much about that show, but that's a really funny, interesting time. And,
Yeah.
Cool.
But I had a great time. I loved being on tour.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially like on a production contract like tour, it is with 25 minutes on stage. I would watch these ensemble members like killing themselves because it was a hard ensemble show because of all the Oompa Loompa stuff. These actors like are on their knees manipulating puppets, and I'm just like in my like fat suit, like ha ha ha, I'm overpaid.
Yeah, I have a friend who I think at one point auditioned for that show and told me after, was like, they wanted me to do a quadruple. I was like, yeah. So that's like the kind of level of like
and
serious hoofing it
for
people
the
were
people
doing
at home, quadruple, that means you're covering 4 tracks.
The 4 spins, dude. They wanted people to do quadruple, like
quadruples,
turns, like to even keep vibing
I've first
with
heard
people.
triples, but I didn't even know that was an expectation, a reasonable expectation.
The dancing in that show was excessive, to say the least.
It's apparently very hard and cool choreography.
It's a very, very cool choreographer who does like incredible stuff, but I think 8 shows a week is very hard on an ensemble, and
even in SpongeBob, I imagine too, right? I mean, there's a lot of climbing, there's a lot of acrobatics involved in that show.
The scariest thing that ever like happened to me in SpongeBob was when I was on for Old Man Jenkins and I was doing that ensemble track, which I got lucky. I didn't have to do a couple of the big numbers just because I don't tap. But like was moving around the ladders for Ethan and Lily for SpongeBob and Sandy as they're doing the Chop to the Top song. You're just like in pitch black and you're moving around these like boxes, and I just was having a panic attack the entire time because I'd done it, like we'd rehearsed it, but never with the actual people, never with the lights out.
And it's like, this is it. It's fucking happening.
And like, if you fuck up, like Ethan will fall, and like we need him. If we don't have him, we don't have a show.
Right.
Yep.
That show really did rest on him. And hey, another Maryland boy. What is it with Maryland and these musical theater performers?
Also, Bryn Williams, who was in that show with me and who was also in Charlie with me. She's also
and Blameyer, who was in an iteration of that show, also a Marylander. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Nick's awesome.
Yeah, well, and another person that was in Les Mis with me, with Luke Smith and all these people, was a lady by the name of Caroline Bowman as well. Was in that with me. So.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, if people don't know, that is one of the Elphabas of Wicked, like one of the Elphabas, like when they did like the 25th anniversary and they had like all of them sing. Like
she's on the Mount Elphaba more.
Yes, and she's also like big on Frozen because she's in the touring cast of Frozen with her real life husband. So.
Oh my God! I got to get on that tour.
Big famous people we worked with when they were young.
I need another dumb bad children's show.
Yes, I mean that's what's gonna. I mean, like here, we haven't moved on from this question because that's what's.
I was gonna say Bob next.
Okay, we'll go to the next one. All right, because this is actually this is something you have to know as like your job. What is your musical theater archetype? Ingenue villain, sidekick / friend, character actor / comic relief / old, and then other / specify. And I'll actually guess based on your SpongeBob tracks. So sidekick / friend is Patrick, and then character actor / comic relief / old is Mr. Krabbs, right?
Yes, I've always you nailed it, Bobby. Yeah. I've always definitely been more of like the character actor old, and that was like kind of the tricky thing, like segueing out of college into doing it. Was it was like, no, like I do like Shakespeare shit and I play like old people.
Mm-hmm.
um and then it's like, no, you're 22 and you have
Right.
to like, we're only going to like cast you as somebody who's in their 20s. So
Yeah.
that took a little while to figure out, but as it's like, thank God I'm getting
But you'll
older,
just start getting cast as those parts, right? Harrison and I have a friend, Ryan Burke, who's like one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life, and he's also just a great guy. But he has been playing like 40-year-olds since he was like right out of college. He's like been getting
Like
cast.
20. Since he was
Yeah.
like 20, he was like playing the dad in Next to Normal and
Right, yeah,
stuff like
that's
that.
right. He was literally 21 years
Fucking
old
hilarious.
playing the dad in Next
So
to
he had the
Normal.
thickest beard of anyone who auditioned.
right.
Like that's like the lower down you go, like that's where stuff starts to go. You're like, oh, you can sing it, and you probably have the thickest beard. You're in, man.
Yeah, but I started as very much ingenue territory, kind of. And then I've been very excitedly aging, and I welcome this. I welcome all of this happening here. I want to get older. I want to play Sweetie Todd and not have it be ridiculous. Like let's go. Let me
I
get
know,
old. I want to be a
coming,
character
it's
actor.
coming for me too. Well, I feel that way,
And it's
just
really going to
not
serve you too. Like you're like,
I hope
bring it
so.
on.
Not to segue too much, but
Yeah.
like that's one of the most annoying things with Into the Woods is like I've gotten to audition for a bunch of like regional productions, and they never ever see me for the baker. They're like, you're like kind of young. How
Mhm.
about you be like the steward and the baker understudy, And then I don't book that.
And
but-
you would be a great baker.
And the baker's supposed to be young. I feel like he's referenced in the script as being a young baker,
I think he's
and he
maybe
always gets
supposed to
cast
be
like 4
about.
years too old in my opinion.
I think he's supposed to be at his oldest, like my age, like 35,
Yeah.
like
Exactly,
like mid
yeah.
30s, and because that's they've been trying
also
to
his
have
story.
kids for a while, so like they're
And it's
probably
also
in
fairy
their
tale
40s,
time, so you have to
30s.
assume that they started at a very
That's
young
true.
age, right?
It's all fairy tale logic. Anyway, we're getting too ahead of ourselves. We can't get into that yet.
You're
Let's
right,
move
you're
on.
right, sorry.
Okay, so and also we've been talking about this, so we can kind of. But how do you? But how do you musical theater now that we are in the pandemic? Have you done any virtual shit at all in the past year? And also, how much do you in your personal life now, and also in the before times, for fun, like listen to musical theater, watch a movie musical, watch a boot of something or whatever? How do you musical theater in your life?
So like everything completely shut down. It was crazy. I'm sorry, let me go back a little bit before.
Totally.
Like January, February, that's like a very plum audition time, and like stuff was crazy. I had like a couple balls in the air, and then just complete nothing. So I don't know, like the way that kind of hit me was just like, well, it's not happening, and I'm not going to try and make it happen like too much. If any friends like reach out or ask to do anything, I'll do that. But other than that, I've like really kind of taken the year of pandemic to just decompress, chill, like work on like little teeny things with friends,
Mm-hmm.
play a ton of video games,
Right.
and yeah, like watch a lot of like bootlegs, listen to a lot of cast recordings. I have like a pretty extensive like bit of just like accompaniment tracks, so every few days like I'll sing through a few songs
Ugh.
to like keep it like warm.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
And
mean,
that-
the
that's-
only singing. Well, and so it's funny. Like, the only reason that I'm watching musicals as much as I can is because I did the show, and I'm really glad I did because it like reignited like why I love it, and it like forces me to just always be watching something, revisiting something, or watching something that I just it's a blind spot or whatever. So it's really great. But it's also for with these stupid fucking theme songs. So like that's my singing for the week. It's like that is it. But it's like good. Like otherwise I would be doing nothing at all. And so when I'm humiliating myself trying to sing Jesus Christ Superstar, like it's fine though. Like my voice is getting some workout. It's good.
Totally. I've been like really focusing on endurance and stuff and just like breaths. I have like maybe like 30 songs that I'm always like working through, and it's just kind of like that, sing the song 100 times and like mark your breaths, know where it is. And that's been like my practice over the last like year.
that's leading me to the final question, but I don't want to skip ahead to it. But what's in your book? Like what are your like main go-to audition songs?
I mean, the good thing is that eventually, and I'm, not, I'm doing like okay. I've done like okay in my career, but like luckily it gets to a point where they do give you the material
That's
to
good.
sing,
Because
which is very good.
auditions do suck.
I
It also works that way
sang-
around here too. Sort of.
Yes.
That is generally true. I mean, generals are brutal when you have to do
know.
them.
And like I haven't had to do that in a while. Every now and then, like they'll ask to like hear something else, and that's when I pull out something fun. But my book before, when I was like younger, I was always singing "Rich Girl" by Hall and Oates
Oh
for
wow,
everything,
that's
no
amazing.
matter what it was. It was just. It was
I
like
love
one
all
of,
of it. So I like
It
that.
was like, I love that song, and it was like, it was my song from my senior showcase. So I just had like a funny little take on it, and I just always sang that, and it worked out pretty well for me. And then other than that, the musical theater song that I would sing, it would either be "Who I'd Be" from Shrek. Honestly, like that last
Great
32
song.
bars of that
Great
is really
song.
strong. Or I would sing
Save a hot house flower. You gotta.
"Save a Hot House Flower."
It's such a good lyric. I do
Yeah.
want to just like shake David Lindsay Bear's hand to be like, "Good job on that lyric."
No,
Save
it
a
is
hot
good.
house flower.
And then I'd also would sometimes sing the last 32 bars of "Out There" from Hunchback.
Of
That was
course.
kind of like my go-to for those guys.
That's awesome. So now in musicals that you love more broadly, what and so this is awesome because you're probably familiar with a bunch and you maybe know some deeper cuts. What musicals do you think should be more popular or beloved than they are? And for the hot takes, which should be less popular?
More popular, "Passing Strange."
I agree.
I'll throw it's Sondheim, like everyone like knows him, but like I think Sondheim should hopefully officially be moved into like this is objectively like amazing, this is canonically good, this is like RNH, this is there. And I think it's mostly that way. There's still some people who are like annoying holdouts over it.
They're wrong. Cornel
yes.
West says he's the best living philosopher. Like that's
I think
one
he's
of my
the
favorite.
I think he's the greatest American artist or writer of all time.
And I'll say, only number two to him, the only person that's even close to him in the game is William Finn.
Love William
I got
Finn.
one. I got one. I put over William Finn. Sorry,
Uh-oh,
We
is
can
that
talk about some
Tesori?
I'm a Tesori stan. That's mine. That's mine.
She's very good.
Team Tesori here.
Yeah. I'm a big
That
William Finn
Shrek
fan,
musical
too.
just got me. I do love William Finn too. We
No,
talked.
I
I, mean,
love-
we just talked William Finn. We did Spelling Bee. That was the last
I
episode.
know, like March of the Falsettos and Falsetto Land. I like them as the separate shows.
Me
better.
too.
Like,
Me too. Way better. The
Well-
lyrics are so much better. They all scan better. The performances are so good. Not to take anything away from the Broadway cast,
but
but
that's
Michael
interesting.
Rupert on the OBC is like the best musical theater
You
performance.
got Michael
period.
Oh,
Rupert. You got Stephen Bogardus.
Well, and you got
Chip
the god,
Zion,
the god,
Billy.
the god,
the God,
from this
Chip
show,
Zion.
Chip Zion.
And he also kills in New Brain. Chip Zion
Yes.
kills in New
He
Brain
does.
too.
So good.
Kills.
Well, I will say Chip Zion in New Brain on my musical theater playlist. Did I ever actually paste that in here? There it is. There it is, people. I just pasted it in the chat again.
Okay, so Sondheim cemented is something that we.
Well,
like.
what's your favorite Sondheim? Number
My favorite
one.
Sondheim.
Overall show or score, Bobby, or should we separate them? Because I have different answers for those in my.
This one, it's genuinely, truly very hard for me to say. It will be between Sweeney and Sunday.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to have to go with Sweeney just because like I get so much return
It's a
enjoyment
perfect
out
show.
of it.
It's a perfect show. It's a Swiss watch. You can just watch it a million times and analyze it from a million.
It's a
different
perfect
angles.
show, and every time I like watch a new like really good production, like I find something like really new to love and appreciate about the show.
So did you? Did you see the Pie Shop one?
I did see that one. Yeah. I saw like the third replacement cast. So it was Hugh Panaro as Sweeney, which was kind of like odd casting.
Yeah,
Person
it's
knows who
also
that
really
is. I don't
dope
know who
though.
that is.
He's a big Phantom. He's like a very famous
Okay.
Phantom of the Opera. Very tall, very thin, like very
Cool.
light, dramatic tenor.
You would
And
know
he
his
like
voice if you heard it,
Okay.
Bobby.
yeah, he's on the Mount Phantom more
Mm.
definitely. And he was fantastic as Sweeney. I was blown away. I had no idea what to expect. I was so glad that I saw him. I wish I'd seen the original guy, but yeah, that production was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love like environmental kind of theater,
Yes.
and really just yeah, just pushing kind of the limits of like getting
And
people to consider theater in different ways and stuff is always
and
fun.
I saw that the John Doyle Sweeney on Broadway when I was
Mm-hmm.
in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, that probably got me hooked to it. And then I did a production of Sweeney in college where the whole thing was set in a morgue,
Mm-hmm.
and we were all like the dead bodies would get. I was Beetle Bamford, and you would get like rolled out of like your little morgue slab and like get up and enter the story.
Like
And
that. I like that.
yeah, it was great. And like so, Sweeney is just so you can really do a lot with it because it's all about class.
Oh yeah. I said it's like one of the great anti-capitalist works of theater on the episode with Jack. It's like it's so cuz that's what it's about. It's about
Yeah,
like people just wanting to live their lives but being ground to just be
yeah,
becoming the worst versions of themselves by the machine by just like yeah.
exactly. And then at the same time, like the reason why I love Sunday in the Park with George so much is I don't. Jack was actually kind of talking about this like in the past weeks. Like Phantom Thread, I
Mhm.
think is a really interesting like companion piece for Sunday in the Park with
I
George.
when I first watched Phantom Thread, that was like my first was I was like, "Oh, this is Sunday."
Yes, exactly. And I wish Sunday like went there a bit further, but I think
Mhm.
you could put that into performance.
Right.
And I saw that 2008 production of that on Broadway. That was like the big projection
I was
production.
debating between Passing Strange and that, and
God,
In the Heights. That was my me at the TKTS booth in spring break of my junior year of college,
yeah.
maybe.
I think
Um,
you made the right call,
I
but
think I did
like
too, but I think any way I would have gone there, I would have seen a good show. I think.
yes, but that production of Sunday, the actor who played George was like a much colder George in both acts.
Hmm.
He was like a much more like inaccessible person, and I think that like helped the show.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting. I mean, the to me the knock against Sunday, if there is one, is that it's a bit navel gazy, right? It's kind of art about
Sure,
art kind of thing, and
but that's like also in the text too.
right,
Like they're
but
they're
like that,
commenting on
but
that
there's a way that that will always appeal to us more, you know.
totally.
But will it appeal to like an audience? And I
Well,
think that
it's like Sondheim like wrote a piece that would like piss off his like detractors the most.
right. Well, that's the famous. I mean, shit. I might have to just even play it tonight. But the famous Tony acceptance speech
Rest from Jerry
from
Herman.
Jerry Herman, who won over Stephen Sondheim. He like
What
had
does
to
he?
like apologize for it in the press
Yeah.
later or
He's
something.
like, thank God the tuneful,
Right. People
Broadway
still,
song.
and it's like, here's like this old queen. He's like a tune that you can hum is still has a place on Broadway, and you're like, oh, fuck you, Jerry Herman.
All
I mean, you are.
disrespect to Jerry Herman.
He's a legend.
All
He did Hello Dolly.
disrespect.
Come on, everybody. The man's a
Just
legend.
kidding.
Great
Respect on his name.
songwriter. I mean, Lacage,
Just-
come on.
Yeah, Lacage.
Just all
And that's the thing is he
disrespecting
did
me.
win for like probably his best show too.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like you can't be that bad. That's a really close. Those are two good shows. So, so what shows are you sick of though? What shows could you do with never having to see being done again or don't understand the love so much?
I could be done with, Dear Evan Hansen. I could be done with Come From Away.
Mm,
I could be done with the show that must not be named.
mm.
Um,
It's just
you
like
know,
it's too big to fail at this point though. Like now it's the operating budget of show X. It is probably bigger than like most countries in the world. Like
I will
between all
actually,
the tours and the resident
yes.
productions.
But you have to remember, like, so many shows have, like, also gone through that process, too, and then kind of faded away or pulled back a decade into their thing. And I would be very interested to see where, the bad slave owner show is like in 5 years from now.
Right. Yeah, it
'Cause I
is.
do think I think that people will. It's kind of what you were saying, Harrison, where like you go and when I went to it, I was doing standing room and I was there to see a friend who was an understudy on for George Washington, and you could really get the vibe in the crowd of like they were really ready for the cast recording, and like then as soon as this kind of like dancey, Carmen, a hip opera piece starts
And
going
like,
on.
there's no breath on the cast recording. That's the
No.
other thing, is that like the cast recording is like at 1.5 speed, and people don't have to breathe. And so the show has a lot more air to it, and it is not this relentless punching. I don't know. I just felt like, because
I don't know.
again, the
I thought
cast
that
recording and the way that it's been portrayed publicly, it just has a lot more air of it when I saw it. It had a lot more space and breath, and it didn't just drive punch you in the face.
I thought that the Disney Plus recording was actually excellent. I think that I was actually thinking about it a lot, just in terms of the filming of it. I mean, just like the way that it was edited and the choice of shots and like sort of the way that they would frame things and when they would pull in and when they would pull back, and they wouldn't do too much like cutting or anything like that. It was a cool way of like really. And it really kind of brought like the live feeling, like you right up
Absolutely.
to it kind of. I think that's sort of like one of the best, if not the best, filmed theater that there is.
No,
whatever you think of the show.
It's a fantastic capture, but like it really puts like Lynn like completely exposed, and it's like,
That is true. That is true. I this is my fifth time bringing this up on the show, but it's the classic Mr. Show joke of imminent death syndrome, of Bob listing all the celebrities that have it, where you have to pretend that they're really talented, and he says Quentin Tarantino, the actor, not the director, and it's the exact same thing. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda, the actor, not the writer or composer, because he is very talented writer composer. His choice of subject, when it comes to Hamilton and whatnot, you can quibble with, and you can quibble with the individual writing and how well it represents hip hop. But he is very talented. I would never take it away from him, especially as a writer.
Agreed. Very talented man. Would love to work with him.
Yeah, same. Just not on Freestyle Love Supreme. I'm good on that. I will be a pass.
I'll be in that if you want.
At this point, I'll be in anything.
I will. I'm a pass
exactly.
on FLS for me. I'm good. Okay, so. Related to your book, but if this is the musical of your life, if this is Matt the musical, and it's your 11 o'clock number, what are you singing? And it can be a musical song. It doesn't have to be. It can be a completely made up song. What's gonna be your 11 o'clock number?
Oh no, that's a hard one. My 11 o'clock number. I don't know. It's like the actual like content of the song doesn't seem like that important to me. Like if I got to sing like a big song, I would probably sing something like what's the song from Follies? Not looking left, not looking right. That song.
No, that's from Little Night Music Sent in the Clowns, which is one of the all-time great 11 o'clock numbers.
I'm talking about. What's it called?
Yes, I know. Yes, from Follies.
Oh my God, it's killing me.
Is it the road you didn't take?
About you.
Yeah.
In the morning, it's what's it called?
I think about
Losing my mind. Thank you. My roommate who just said "Losing My Mind" from across the room.
That is one of the really good songs. See, Follies is one that I'm not as up on. That's one of the Sondheims that I'm probably the least up on, even, except besides Roadshow. I don't really.
So and my roommate is in the chat and he is saying, "Why God, why?" And I'm changing my answer to that. So I like that song.
All right, well, we are canceling you for racism, for
Oh, no.
supporting Miss
For
Saigon.
you did a racism, you did a no growth.
He's referencing a very canceled show. No.
The character's racist.
All right, we're gonna go to break. Okay, so everybody, I'm gonna cut to. Wait, let me get ready to do this real quick. I'm gonna cut to break and. Hang on. Harrison and Matt, chat for a second amongst yourselves. Harrison, do it.
Harrison, what are we going to do? You know?
Wow. We're just having a wonderful chat amongst ourselves. So, are you, did you stay in the city for the last, since the pandemic?
That's a great question.
I had been living in Brooklyn up until January, and I'd been kind of feeling about like dipping right outside of the city, and so I moved to Union City, which is like right across the Hudson, and it's great. I've been here since the beginning of February, and it's like a lot quieter, it's a lot cheaper. I got like a parking spot for my car, and it's honestly like my commute to Midtown's faster than it was in Brooklyn, so I'm just kind of like settling in and enjoying that a bit more. It was hard on me to be like in Brooklyn in April, May, June.
Oh, I bet.
It was.
And prior to SpongeBob, were you traveling around a lot? Were you doing a lot of regional hopping, going to regional houses?
Not really. Like I wasn't up to too much. I was like mostly doing. I actually haven't done too much regional. I did a production of South Pacific. I played Billis out in Long Island at the Engelman Theater. Then a couple years later, I did Grease at Paper Mill, which is where I got my equity card.
Nice.
But other than that, I was kind of focused. I had these managers who were like comedy people, and we were trying to do sketch comedy and like auditioning for a lot of TV stuff. And so that was kind of where my head was for a long time. And honestly, like SpongeBob kind of came out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
And doing that, I was.
But what's your? This is like what do you love more, the words or the music? Which well, not like which do you love more, but like how do you compare performing like a sketch comedy versus performing musical theater? Like how does that what calls to your soul more, I guess, or in what way?
I mean, there's like you can't do sketch for a living. Like I loved I worked with a crew, like a team out of the Pit in NYC for a little bit, and those were some of like the most fun nights of my life. You rehearse something relatively quickly, put it up on its feet, and it's kind of half rehearsed for an audience. That's the best. And we did a ton of like musical stuff in that. Yeah, I definitely loved that. But if you get in the right show, it's kind of a similar feeling. And SpongeBob and Charlie, for that matter, were kind of like that.
Yeah.
Especially like Charlie, they really let me do whatever I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
And we got to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, when you're just in a show where you like the people you're working with, the show is fun to do, or even better, you love the show itself, which is like a rare that's the dream. All right. Yeah. Well, speaking of the dream, we're going to talk about one of the ultimate dream shows in theater. I spent way too much time on this quiz as usual, so we're gonna not really a type 5 because we got 3 things that we're gonna listen to. We're gonna listen to Harrison's new song, which isn't very long. It's all right. LMK by Baseball Hat. Everybody check out Baseball Hat and here I'm gonna link this now in the chat as well. So we're gonna listen to the Baseball Hat song.
Play Up All Night. That's the new one. LMK is the one from February.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Up All Night. Okay, well, that is the one I meant to play. You're right. Okay. Well, here, I'm linking both of them because they're both bops.
You rock. Thank you.
So we're going to listen to that, and then we're going to watch a couple of videos on the break, and we will be right back. Oh, and yeah. So everybody, sit tight. We'll see you in a little over 5.
Silence everywhere my liking. Hello, Jack! He'll be fine. How did you know my name?
First I appear, I seem mysterious. I want to explain I am nothing serious.
Say that again?
I know the market. You might have been there long ago. Taking more time, Jack.
No, sir.
Is that the truth?
You see, now, I was just resting.
How much are you asking for the end?
No less than £5, sir.
Oh, now, Jack, why such a sum?
My mother told me
Your
that.
mother? A boy your age? Why, you'd be lucky to exchange that cow for a sack of beans.
I don't know about that. Come along, Milky White. There are spirits here.
It justifies the beats. It justifies the It justifies the beats. The end's in sight, you'll realize the end is right. It justifies the beats. Right, it justifies the beats. 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 Only three more tries and we'll have our prize. When the end's in sight, you'll realize the end is right. It justifies the beats. It justifies the beats. It justifies the beats.
It justifies the beat. Take the cow and go home. I will carry this out in my own fashion.
Hey, hang on.
It
Whoops. They cannot hear you, so I need to unmute you. One moment. Nope. I always do that. We can see, can't hear. Okay, now you can both be heard. Right? Speak?
Can I?
Yes. Harrison? No, I cannot hear you. Why can't I hear you? You're muted on your end. What's something? I got you. I just heard something. All right, we've temporarily lost Harrison. This is great. Typical tech issues. It took me a little bit to get. I'm glad we were able to.
Me?
Yes, now we can hear you. I'm glad we were able to listen to
I
baseball
tried to
hats.
do one fucking joke. I tried to do one fucking joke.
What was it?
Anyway. I was just trying to say Baba Booey, Hamilton, Stephen Sondheim's penis.
Just so
The famous
everybody knows.
lore from this show.
No, the lore from this show, the phrase that you say isn't Baba Booey, it's Shapoopy. It's Shapoopy, Stephen
Sorry.
Sondheim's penis. That's
Oh, sorry.
that's the lore. So if you're gonna cite lore, please get it right. I know what a stickler you are for lore, Harrison. Harrison loves lore. If you want to talk to Harrison about anything, it should be lore. Oh, our mods are here. Bubbly and Queen is in the chat. One of our mods. All right, Matt. Here we are. We were at one point talking about doing another show. We were talking
That's
about
right,
doing actually a very big show, a show that sort of looms over this. It's been referenced a few times, but it's a huge show. A little something by the name of Les Miserables, and I've been in it. Harrison's been. Have you been in it?
I've not been in it.
You need to be Thenardier like yesterday, probably. Right?
I was kind of telling you this. Like, I have like set tracks in my head for what I want to do when I'm in Les Mis, and like I don't want any principal tracks. You know, I just want principal cover. I don't have to do that. Like, they don't have to like list me as an understudy. I just like would like to go on at some point.
Right.
But other than that, like I want to do the constable in the.
I was going to ask, what bit parts in Les Mis do you want to be? Because that's the important question.
You want the barricade? Listen to this.
Well, no, that's the loud hailer, and that's coming. Like,
Okay.
I want to start my first part. Here's the track. Is that would be constable, which is like tell his reverence your story, and then I would like to be Bambatois, who's like here's something new. I think I'll give it a try.
Yeah, I was gonna the abusive like prick guy at the docks. Yeah.
I want that. And then I would like to be Bruhan, who's part of Thenardier's gang, who does what do I care? Who you should rob? Like that guy.
And he also has a name of like an anime character, I think. Too.
It does sound very anime. Then I want to be the loud hailer. Then I would like to be done for the show.
The loud hailer, you could be like in your underwear backstage doing it. It's you can
the dream, the absolute dream.
just pajama pants, just like a cigarette in hand. You're at the barricade. Listen to this.
No one's coming to help you. He's like the meanest line in all of musical theater. You're on your own. You have no friends. What a mean
I like
thing
how
to say.
he says that. I like that he says you have no friends.
Yeah.
That's like the funniest shit.
Like, come on, man. This is like the French Revolution, not even the big one.
And it's like, I didn't come to the French Revolution to make friends,
Yeah.
loud caller, all right?
Came here to make a barricade.
But anyway, we didn't feel like talking about a show where we'd be like, yeah, the best part in musical theater, this great tortured cop.
This wonderful cop.
The beauty is that like Les Mis like could be an alternate title for the show that we're going to talk about tonight.
It's true.
Because everybody's life ends up truly Les Miserable at the end.
I don't know. They find a hopeful place. I mean, come on. Like, the baker ends up with hot Cinderella and, like, bonus 3 kids. Now he's, like, got, like, a full family now, you know.
He just suddenly
One of which is already old
adults.
enough to, like, you know, do shit for him.
Some of them are in some versions of the show. Some of them, in fact, are way older. The version I was in, Little Red was like 40 years old.
I love that.
I don't know if it works as well for Little Red as Jack. We were talking about this briefly about, it was Walt. So, oh no. I lost my, hang on a second. Oh no. Okay, I gotta fix the cropping. Oh god.
It's perfect.
No. It's gonna be fine. We'll just keep talking. Oh god.
Yeah, we'll talk about Into the Woods. What about Matt? What was your first exposure to Into the Woods?
So my first exposure to the Into the Woods is the PBS, airing of this.
Oh wow.
And I have very vague, like, oh my god, I'm big on the street. I have like very vague memories of it, and I just like mostly remember getting the heel and the toe cut off at the end and pouring out the blood
Which
from the
is
shoe.
like great because that's all like, and that's like one of the really awesome things about the show is it's the actual OG grim fairy tales where
Yes.
they're like brutal as hell.
Yes. So I had like all these images like in my head from just like sitting there and watching this on PBS like one random day. And then years later, the tiny little community theater that like I grew up out of called Churchill Community Theater. It's a beautiful little theater in Churchill, Maryland.
Sorry, just briefly, there's two of me and no Harrison, and I might keep it like this.
It's a nice little duality.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So it's
No.
wait. So there's a place called Churchill, Maryland, because there's a Churchill High School here in Montgomery County by me, but that's
Oh, is there
completely-
really?
Yeah, that's completely.
Now
different.
there's a Churchill Elementary School there.
Wow.
Um,
I don't know what our deal is with Churchill here in Maryland. It's,
all of those like
no connection.
these 13 colonies, all of the same name towns.
Hmm.
Like I went to Centerville for high school, and that's everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, then like I saw the show at a community theater production when I was about 11, and it brought back like this big rush of watching it on PBS back to me. I was like, oh my god, this is that like weird, horrifying, like sick show. And I remember the sound effects of Rapunzel getting like squished. I remember like the bones breaking and everything. That was it. It didn't scare me, but it definitely left an impression. And it was very strange to be 11 or 12 and like be watching this community theater production and being like, oh my god, this is that thing from TV.
Yeah, there's something cool about, especially as a kid or something, because these are like the most classic stories. We're talking Into the Woods, folks. We should say is Into the Woods, music and lyrics by the God. Oh, I've made a huge mistake. We've been going for way too long without this, and I apologize, and it's been rectified and it's fixed, and it's fine. Except
Sondheim vision.
I need to correct where your text is. All right, it's fine. Okay. All right, we're good. Yeah, we're talking Into the Woods. Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine did the book and also the original direction, which is we watched the original Broadway production, and that's what we're talking about, which was originally aired on PBS, and stars Bernadette Peters, Joanna Gleason, Chip Zien, and Carmela Soprano's dad. Is the only thing that I'm calling him. I guess it's Robert Aldridge. Is that it? Is that right?
I think it's Tom Aldridge.
Tom Aldridge. And then Robert Westenberg.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And he's one of us. He's a Sondheim regular because he's also in Sunday, and then he's in Passions as well, right? Or is that someone else that looks like him?
No,
He is in Passion.
That is him in Passion.
But he's also he was also in that the '93 revival of Company. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And he's done like a ton of other Sondheim concerts, and he's
Cinderella's prince and the wolf with a full penis.
Full like animated penis like on the wolf.
It's like a straight up floppy dick on the front of the wolf.
That would cause such an like not an uproar like in a bad way, but that would be such a thing if that happened like nowadays.
The song in general, well, that was so this was one of the and I'll just bring it up now. We'll get it out of the way that they did make a movie of this, and it's not very good. It has moments. It has I think Meryl's pretty good. It has it has its stuff that's okay, but for the most part, it's just mediocre. Because Rob Marshall is a hack who doesn't know what he's doing. But when there was the initial like casting announcement for that, and they cast what's her fucking face, the little girl that used to go on Ellen all the time, and do the dances and sing
Sophia Grace.
Sophia Grace, and she would sing the Nicki Minaj songs. Do you remember this little girl?
Was she in Into the Woods movie?
She was supposed to be. They cast Lila Crawford instead. They
Right.
after the uproar,
She was
and because
supposed to
this
be Red
girl was
Riding Hood.
legitimately like fucking 7 years old.
And there's like,
And-
no. Do you know the song that she does with the wolf?
Like-
You're gonna have the Johnny Depp as the. Okay, we're already like it's Johnny Depp as the wolf, and you're gonna have him
tough.
sing this extremely. I'm sorry, like sexual assaulty. Let's just say I'm gonna like. I don't like to just like drop the R word out of it. It's like there. It's like he's like lascivious, and that's like the point that.
Yeah, this is a horny wolf we're talking about.
It's a horny show. I mean, like, this is the thing is, like, besides, well, passion and fucking little night music. Yeah. This what I would think would be the third horniest Sondheim show. And this is, we're talking like a show that's about all the fairy tales.
Like maybe Bounce, or
Yeah, Roadshow's pretty horny.
Okay.
It's pretty horny.
I'm not familiar enough with Roadshow. I need to get more.
There's a lot of
study.
just like talking about how horny you are for the other person on stage in Roadshow.
There's also like a kind of an incest kind of vibe, so that's pretty horny,
Yeah.
We
Not
love
for-
that.
Yeah, well, not for me, but for them,
Well, and I guess because he's still writing. That's the other thing about our boy Steve is he's still working on a show supposedly at 95.
This week, Charm of the Bourgeoisie one, right?
Yeah, where,
Isn't it supposed to be half that and half something else? And it's
like
supposed to premiere at the
Buñuel
public.
Films or whatever, or whatever French filmmaker it is.
yeah, I don't know if they're still doing that because like that, I don't know. I feel like that show's maybe going to be stuck in development hell.
Yeah,
I
well,
just don't know,
because
'cause, like, that-
where does what theater it does get done, and who for whom, and how many people, and is it economically viable in any way? And yeah. That's
But also,
yeah.
they've been like working on that for a decade. I remember seeing press releases come out for that show for forever, and it always seems like they have a date, and then
Yeah.
I would like
It's
to
a
see
David
him.
Ives thing, right? It's David Ives and him.
Oh yeah.
I would definitely like to see something like another thing come out from him. But
Well, but when maybe we'll hear it. Hang on. Shit. Sorry, I picked a really bad time to try to test my sound alerts. Our boy Steve. It's but to me, it's really like the cool thing about like the past 30 years of his life or so, especially or since like Passion even, because but like Bouncing's like it was just been developed and had so many iterations and productions. But he like still takes so much time to like mentor and do like classes, and like he's just such a accessible and like cool guy, and just like so smart and like generous with his time and brilliance that I'm a big Steve fan. Have you seen
So-
6 by Sondheim, the HBO?
yes, I have watched that. Yeah.
I love that. That's like because
That's
it's
really
just a compilation of all the interviews and stuff, and then like some of the performances or whatever. But
I saw him speak live, like do a Q&A, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was awesome. He's sharp and like so with it, and ready for anything. And I don't think they like definitely they didn't like pan the audience super well, I guess, for doing like the questions. And this like one girl got up there and she just had a complete breakdown like in front of him, and it was like very awkward, but like a very like sweet moment too. And
I would freak out. I think I'd have a breakdown.
I think I could have a breakdown too. She was just kind of like saying like how much like his like work meant to her, and like he didn't shut her down, but he was like that's good, like that thank you, but like
Right.
it's just it's just songs, there's songs, there's stories, and it's all about what you do with it, and like it was he did, she kind of like went on this huge tirade, and then he was like okay good, thanks, like the Bernie thing.
Like the Bernie thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, good, thanks.
okay, that's good. Well, so let's talk. And so you saw it like as a kid. Have you seen many live productions of it? What live productions have you seen?
I have seen. Okay, so I saw that community theater one. I was in Into the Woods Junior. Then I saw a high school production, and then I guess the first time I would have seen it would have been the outdoor Regent's Park production in London in 2010. And I was obsessed with that production. I thought it was so good. I mean,
That's really good.
you got to like lay out in the grass. I had like a
Wait,
bottle
was
of
that the one
wine.
with? So that was the one with Dennis O'Hare.
That was not with Dennis O'Hare. That was
Okay.
the same. It was the same director.
Oh,
and
right. We were talking about
most of the
this.
same
Oh.
creative team, but a full British cast. Trying to think of anybody. The baker's wife was Jenna Russell, who's
Who's
in that
amazing. She's in the Merrily
Yep,
that you
Merrily
love,
Roll
Bobby.
Along.
Oh my God, she's
Yeah.
so fucking good in
So-
that.
Dude, she's
I know.
fucking amazing as the baker's wife, dude.
So
Oh
that's
my
why you
God.
gotta find that.
Okay, yeah, I do have to find this.
It's
If
out there
anybody
too because they pro shot it.
I would love if anybody can find me this slime of this Into the
I
Woods
might
with Jenna
have it.
Russell. Okay, please, I would love
Because I had it
drop
when
a
I
cassette
did the
for
show.
me.
They did it based off of like a very like loosely based off of that concept version of it,
Right.
and we watched it. So I might have that somewhere. I'll try to find it for you, Bob.
And then I think the only other production that I saw of it was when they transferred that production to Central Park, and they did it there. And I was so hyped. I was so like, oh my God, everybody! Hyped. Everyone listen! Oh my God, everybody! Everyone listen! Oh my God,
Sorry.
everyone listen! Oh my God!
What did I open?
Was it?
It's fine.
What happened? Mr.
I'm trying to fix the sound alerts while we're talking, and I somehow opened a window
no.
of my stream, and then it started looping and being insane. Everybody, it's a typical Goo Goo stream here with really horrible tech. Matt, thank you for being here. I am the worst host in the world, and I love musical theater.
I mean, it's good actually.
It is good, actually, and
That's what I've said.
And I love this performer, Jenna Russell. I can only imagine, and like Baker's wife is.
Oh, wait, I want to talk about the New York one first, though. Matt,
Yes,
I want to
let's-
talk. Matt was talking about the New York one. I
So
want to
then I
finish that.
saw, so then like it transferred to New York, and I was so excited for it, and I was excited to share it with people, and just I can't say exactly like what it was. My biggest, I guess, the idea is that like in London, it was all about like lower working class people in the UK, and that was kind of the focus of the production. And when that creative team tried to do it in New York, I guess they were trying to do like a lower middle class of the US, and it just like came across like very like home goodsy, like very urban apparel-y, and it was just the actors were all over the place. There was stunt casting that didn't work. It was Amy
That is on
Adams.
YouTube. That video, I
can find
know
that on
for
YouTube.
a fact that
Well,
exists on YouTube.
That's when I brought it up was when we were watching. So my stream got hacked earlier by the witch, by Bernadette Peters' Witch, and it was streaming the entire original production of.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean it was. It's okay. I am impotent now until I can find a series of items of weird colors, and I don't really get it, but hopefully I can track those down. Yeah, we were talking about this because it was in the Your Fault segment, which is one of the hardest like parts to perform because it's very, well, it isn't your fault. You're given those. Like I can do all four parts, but doing one part is very, very hard. And it's like if one person drops
That's the hardest part.
it's like
That's the hardest part, is doing it with other people and then only remembering to say the parts that are yours.
Oh my God, because you played Jack, right, Harrison?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I remember we just had to there was a point where we would just walk around in a circle saying it in rhythm to try and get everybody to be able to just stick to their one part when they're supposed to. Yeah, it's really fucking hard.
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster. And I've also seen productions of the show where that has gotten fucked up, and it's it's bad because you can't really get back on because it's just an ever turning, accelerating under you. And in Sondheim fashion, you have no note to pull out. You have no downbeat.
Yeah. So I was kind of telling Bobby earlier that I was like listening to some piano accompaniment tracks and trying to sing along to a few different songs in the show, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, I know these songs; these are ingrained like in my body, but it's all about the arrangement.
Yeah, and doing it to pre-recorded, especially for so many of these songs, you need you need live accompaniment because you need the person to feed off of you. Like, and that's like the whole. So many of the numbers are like that, where there are actual like spoken lines within a song. I think, like, or at least songs like where actors half speak and half sing. I think like Chip Zien does that at a bunch of really like cool times. And it's like because it can support that kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so is that all the productions you saw? Yeah, but the Dennis O'Hare, oh my God, Last Midnight is brutal to watch. Brutal.
Oh, I can't. I mean, I thought Dennis O'Hare was brutal to watch in that production. I was like, where is this wonderful singer?
Well, he's like, not really though, because like he's brilliant in Assassins, and he's like,
I got the cast recording to Assassins. Mm-hmm. That's not an easy song to sing.
It's not, but he's character singing it though, and it's like.
But he was on pitch.
Yeah.
And clear. Yeah. And like clearly on pitch, like hitting them.
The Baker's a deceptively difficult part. I mean, like both of them, like every part in the show, it all seems like it should be easy. But
like the final nail in the coffin to his performance in that show, it's Dennis O'Hare, he's great. But in the London production, that cast, that Baker also could not sing. Was like a terrible singer, probably a worse singer than Dennis O'Hare. But he was like clear, he had like really strong intentions, and he had something that he was doing with the role. I thought Dennis O'Hare was just like, I thought the production almost like lived and died on his shoulders because he was so like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you really do need a Baker to be strong, which is why that's the part I played in high school.
Well,
senior year.
Dream role.
I will say that my wife, Baker's wife, not my actual wife, who's right here, is very lovely. I love her. But my Baker's wife in high school, Brittany Barrett's Yashion, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she is very successful. She was in this regional production of Secret Garden that I think they were trying to get to Broadway as well, but then everything, of course, went to hell.
In DC?
Well, it was I saw that.
Yeah, it was in DC, and then it was in Seattle.
Was that with Michael Xavier? Do you know by any
chance?
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
I watched a bootleg of that production. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I believe she played the girl's mother, not Lily, the girl's mother, like Lily's sister or whatever. I believe. But yeah, she's acted and worked a bunch since. So it was a really cool production, senior year kind of production, and that's and it really. I had already loved Sondheim. Then I did because I'd already been getting into him like the year before Sweeney was my introduction. And then I listened to Into the Woods. Like that was one that was early because it's one that's easy to understand, especially like as a teenager or something like, oh, it's all the fairy tales put together. And in fact, like when people I think hear what the show is, they assume that it's kind of like kid shit. And I think that Disney making a movie of it doesn't help that perception. Especially when the movie is kid shit for no reason. So
the greatest sin of the movie, I think, is worse than Johnny Depp, is the accursed James Corden.
I didn't even hate him yet. I thought he was fine at the time, like not even.
I was excited for the casting. I was excited for the casting at the time, based on One Man, Two Governors, and he was so. That was like the begin. That was like the snowball beginning for me of like the man is bad.
Yeah, well, it was not enough. It was just kind of like bleh. Like Emily Blunt brought it, but then like the problem is
she was pretty good.
Yeah, the problem is that the Baker's wife is excellent, but then she's gone for the last quarter of the show or whatever. So you need.
And then he also doesn't sing no more, so it's like, what's the point?
Oh my God, I blocked it out.
Oh well, I mean the structural things are actually like the biggest fuck up of the movie.
The biggest fuck up is the art direction or lack thereof. Having no visual take is for me.
I know it's like a Hollywood like Once Upon a Time, that show on ABC. It's or yeah, it's like a B, a lower class Maleficent, and then that TV
Not
show
even.
Once Upon
It's
a
like
Time.
yeah,
with
it's like
songs in it.
public access though, like with the sets
It
and
looks
shit.
so
It's like
bad.
it's like the outside of like a fucking community college that's like the castle, and then like there's like a hillside, and like that's where like fucking like a huge dramatic
is
moment happens.
Is Chicago the movie good? Like, is that a good movie?
Chicago, the work, the show is perfect and excellent, and they didn't mess with it that much, and it carries itself so well that Rob Marshall's mediocrity was really hidden. I mean, that is probably the most mediocre talent to win the Best Director Oscar. Yeah. Especially because Paul Haggis didn't win for Crash. Ang Lee won for Brokeback Mountain, I believe.
They did kind of do like the revival of Chicago, and then like kind of.
Well,
like,
that's what
on
it was.
set.
I mean, the revival of Chicago was just huge mega hit, like beyond, because it was like, because first they did Cabaret, that team. It was like the London with Alan Cumming or whatever, and like that was a pretty big hit. Like that got and like for Broadway at the time. I mean, hell, I was watching the Rosie O'Donnell show, and like that show, they were like, Alan Cumming was on there all the time, and so then this was like going to be the same team. But what happened was it came like right on the heels of the OJ verdict, and it's like it was like right in the zeitgeist, and so people were like, oh my god, this show is like everything. It was like the show's time was finally there. Like it was like too dark or something for the 70s even. When it first premiered, and so then that just sort of revealed the greatness of the show. And then they also did it like that revival is like so especially pared down. It's like very minimal, like literally like no set and no real costumes even. It's just black, like whatever, but it's brilliant. I mean, because it's just the show. Like it just lets the show be the star.
I like that production too, but I think they should shut it down. Because number one, the producers, the Weislers, are abusive and need to be removed on the same level of Scott Rudin. But also, like,
well, yeah, there's the story of the Mary Sunshine that people should look into. Was that what you were gonna? Was that my?
That's a major part of it, but it's also been a thing that people have said over the last few decades. So we got to get the Weislers out of there and off the Broadway.
The cover
league.
for Mary Sunshine, a very particular role that has a very particular, needs that this person had been doing it for years. It's a very, very tragic story. You should look it up. Yeah, I agree. I mean, well, that is the thing. Like these shows, well, in Chicago, the revival itself has become for like the last 20 years, just such a like publicity like stop for people like trying to maintain their level of B or C list stardom. Be like, oh, you got to go do your stint in Chicago to keep yourself like vaguely relevant somehow. So it's like Kevin Richardson in Chicago and Wayne Brady and like whoever.
There's phenomenal ensemble and supporting actors in that show all the time. Like,
when I saw a tour, I saw a tour here at, I believe, the Warner Theater, and Roz Ryan was Mama Morton, and she's like amazing. She's like a legend, and she was also one of the muses in Hercules. That's
right.
But she was, I still remember it. Like I still remember her, like just this like brass like blowing out of her voice, like unbelievable.
Some Maryland stuff, like the weirdest thing, one of the weirdest shows I've ever seen was a matinee of the tour of Chicago at Wolf Trap.
Were you on the lawn?
No, I was still like in the theater.
That's so fucking weird.
Wolf Trap is an outdoor like amphitheater in the Northern Virginia area. Yeah. I mean, I've seen like Ben Folds there.
But yes, about that Chicago, like phenomenal ensemble members. Like every now, like they get the people who come in and to play Billy Flynn and stuff to fill in are phenomenal. Like you'll see some of the best singers ever. But like, yeah, just using it as this like stunt casting thing. And to be honest, when all the tourists see it, all they're saying is like, that was like a ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
I spent $150.
Well,
and it
there's
was, like,
so
no
many
set, no
zombie shows
costume.
like that where I'm like, how is
Well, I mean,
how is Avenue Q still running off Broadway? I mean, it's not
yeah,
on
but it at least
Broadway
has
still, but it's
puppets
still
and
going.
sets. Like Matt's hitting a really interesting point that like people do feel ripped off because they don't. There's nothing to that show besides like seeing one celebrity on a black stage with chairs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really great, funny
Like I
show.
mean, it's a lot of great. But I'm talking about for average, like the average theater goers. I don't necessarily think like the average tourist. I don't know how much the show appeals to them.
But-
and I don't know, like, I don't think that every show needs like spectacle razzle.
No, me neither. No,
but
no.
like, you like, I don't know. Then something in your show needs to.
Well, yeah, but
supply
then you
that.
need to keep the spirit of the thing that made it such a big hit to
And then
begin
that-
with alive,
and then-
and that's what they've really let drop. I mean, like the choreography's still there, and that's still locked in, and that's like the original choreo for most of it too, or whatever. And it's like and ranking, it's like whatever, like preserving Fosse's legacy, and it's very beautiful. And I love the story of Chicago.
No, I love the show. I would love to play Amos. You know,
Oh, that would be a good one.
anybody's
Yeah.
out there.
I do love it. I'd love to direct it. I also love it because it says written by Bob Fosse, but it really means written by Patty Chayefsky and Neil Simon. That's what that means.
Did you watch Fosse Verdon?
I love Fosse.
What a
Verdon.
good show.
It's
They
so
should make.
good.
They should like do that for every like. I want like.
And you know who
Rogers,
was
Hammerstein.
so fucking good?
Me too.
Who's so fucking good on Fosse Verdon is and a musical theater great. The Butts, man, Seymour Butts, Norby Leo Butts as Patty and Patty Chayefsky is also a hero of mine in general. Like Networks is like my favorite movie, and so it's like seeing like this like him brought to life, and I knew about his friendship with Fosse, but like seeing like that depicted and how deep that kind of friendship was, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is an episode about Into the Woods.
We can't get into Norbert Leo Butts right now.
Yeah, we can't get into the butts. We can't get into his butts right now.
That's a whole it's like month of episodes.
That's true. We're gonna have Butts Month. We're gonna start with the original last 5 years. We'll have a Fiero. We're just gonna go through. Man, that is funny to consider how old all of them were for those parts in Wicked. Just like stopping and thinking about that. They were.
Yeah, but then it was also like 20 years ago, and like we're very old.
That's
you know,
true. But
comparatively.
I don't think Harrison can still be cast as a teenager. But I definitely wouldn't be. I wouldn't even try to be. But I mean, like, I don't know. Into the Woods. Harrison, we had a controversy surrounding Into the Woods, you'll recall. Last summer, I went on Harrison's Mind Sugar stream, and we did a ranking of all Sondheims, and we did like a tiered. We didn't do like a full ranking. We did a tiered system. So where it was like, these are the, what was it, like elite? What was the top level?
It's like a god tier.
God tier, and then it was like great. Then it was like good, okay, bad, and then don't know, skip. And we put all of the reviews in don't know, no opinion. And we did not put Into the Woods in God tier, and it was very controversial. We put it in
People
great.
crying in the chat. People in my chat were weeping.
I
ripping
still
their
feel
hair
like
out.
Caroline will hate me forever for that. I don't think she's ever going to forgive me.
I gotta say, I'm on the chat side. Frankly.
All right.
I do love it. Here's
defend yourself.
So here, can I just say my knocks?
I got three words for you. Children will listen.
I mean, no.
Sure.
There's so much that like I love this show. Do not get me wrong. These are my knocks against it. A show that I love, a show that I loved watching again today. I revisit every year or so. I love it. It's too long. It's too overstuffed. This is actually something I also ran into. I recently watched the Sound of Music movie for the first time in a very long time. Okay, thank you. Thank you in the chat. And great musical, great movie, too much in it. It's just like too much going on, and it's just too much. But I love Into the Woods. it just, that first act is a full 95 minutes. And then the second act is an hour 15. It's not short either. It is a long show, and it feels long. And I think it's extremely cool when it gets to the point of it all falling apart and then feeding the narrator to the giant. That's amazing. But it takes so long to get to that point. And I just
Even though that's like 20 minutes into the act.
act
When
two.
they feed the narrator. Yeah, that's like 20 minutes into act 2 of the hour 15 act that happens.
Yeah, right.
So
And that's,
first counterpoint, would
okay.
that Act 2 have the same weight without what came before it? Let's say we shave 25 minutes off of Act 1. Does Act 2 work as well?
If you still have the intermission, I would argue yes, because my biggest issue with the movie, my biggest issue among the many is that without an intermission or a clear finish of the first act, I think it just needs resolution.
did they cut
and then
Ever
you need to be able to
from
sit.
the movie? I don't remember.
It's an instrumental interlude that happens. So like you don't get like actual set resolution.
Sorry, that
and like
wounded me.
It's like, you could cut 10 minutes out as long as you get that 15 minutes to be like, everybody got what they wanted, at intermission. That's sort of how I feel, but
No.
I don't know.
I definitely.
Yeah, I don't know
get
what
that.
you'd cut either. At times it feels like just like a miniseries. It's like an endurance run at times for what is, especially for the first act, straightforward, straight up a mashup of fairy tales into each other, and it's smart. It's like not for kids in how it's like the humor is like it's adult, but that is what the premise is, and it doesn't really get subverted in a meaningful way until that second act. So even though I love all the first act stuff too, it's like they're great companion pieces to, like, it's a great show, but it's just like also there's a reason, like every time I've seen it, it has felt long, and I've liked the productions. I've loved the productions, but it's also been like the show's done and I'm like, it's 11:15 and I'm not even going to stay to wait for my friend that was in the show. I need to go. I need to get home.
I think that's all completely valid and like super true. Then again, I also think there are certain shows that like you have to sit there for 3 hours and just deal with it for the piece to like make sense. I think a big part of Into the Woods is at intermission. I think if you've never seen the show, you're supposed to be like, "Oh, that was great!" Like what, like a nice, like complete, like lovely little thing, and then that feeling severely impacts how you experience Act 2.
I agree.
When these characters that you like know and love like are met with excruciating like deaths, even in this like bizarro thing.
Yeah.
From
I
like,
remember
1987.
like when I was first getting into Sondheim in high school, like listening to like, because that's how I would experience musicals. I would like listen to the soundtrack, and there's a lot missing in the Into the Woods soundtrack in terms, because there's maybe one, it's like possibly the most book heavy show like of any Sondheim even. I mean, well, besides like Assassins is very like scene or monologue and song, so maybe, but like reading a plot synopsis, like looking at like I probably like went to Wikipedia or whatever and like read the plot synopsis and being like getting to Act 2 and being like, wait, what? Like there's like these people die? Like Rapunzel dies? Like what? That's fucked up. I mean, it is. It's like it's that's pretty like crazy, but then yeah, it's a great show. I mean, like but how much do you want? Does it? And I said I just said I watch it every year, but like how much does it welcome like revisiting? Like every time you watch it, what is the like? I guess you do like get deeper meanings, and especially the songs and stuff like that. But like it's not in the same way of when I watch Sweeney Todd or Sunday or a little night music, or Company, even like where like I can get like a new angle, or I see like a new thing kind of emerge. Like it's all very beautiful and very well constructed. It's like so like kind of a perfect like puzzle, and that's like Sondheim famously loves crossword puzzles and puzzles, and so it is like such a beautiful way of fitting them together and then breaking them apart, and even the way that that happens is very well like structured. um, but then then it's just kind of like, okay, and that's the boutique, that's the piece, like that's it right there, like on a kind of a platter. And it feels wrong to hold that against it, but that's to me why, and I've done it and I love it. But that's why it doesn't go in the God tier with Sweeney.
I've said this in like the chat a couple times, like while watching other shows, that some of the best, and I don't know exactly what this means, but like some of the best shows of the last like couple of decades have been theater pieces, and I would kind of like Into the Woods is kind of like on the cusp of that, of almost being a theater piece instead of a traditional like 2-act musical.
But I love that it's not. Like, he very easily could have done like this as a series of like stories, like a musical that I'm really fascinated by, that I love. Well, I watch the Tony performance all the time, as The Apple Tree, which, do you know The Apple Tree at all?
Very vaguely. Yeah.
If you have never seen the Tony performance, go watch it. It's, oh my god. Speaking of, you were talking about like the Bernadette double that they do for her transformation, there's a very good use of a double in that Tony's performance of The Apple Tree. But that is like a series of, I think it's like 3 one-acts basically, 3 like musical one-acts that are all kind of themed around like making a wish, or like kind of like an apple, like the tree of knowledge or whatever. And that's like kind of the time that Sondheim comes out of too. So he very easily could have kind of like made it a just like the Brothers Grimm musical, like all of these. And there is definitely something that's gained by actually shoving them together, like creating a full world. And it's not like Shrek, where it's like they're jokes, they're cartoons that are just kind of, no, it's like he is just as interested, even though they don't have full names, have like names like Baker and Baker's Wife. He's just as interested in their internal life as he is, what's her name from Little Night Music, Desiree.
And I guess like when I say, like when I'm like calling like Into the Woods a theater piece, like I think what makes it that is like the like obnoxious subversiveness of what happens in Act 2, like really flipping it on. Like I'm just like thinking of this like 1987 New York City like matinee blue hair crowd, going to see this show, and like that's pretty funky. They watch this like really funny like Borscht Belty, kind of like Act 1, and then you really hit it on their heads in Act 2 and be like, call your fucking son or daughter. Like it really, like I don't know of too many shows that I've like, as I've gotten older, I've like changed. I've like continuously loved it, but like I've adapted and grown like with it.
So this is the very evil thing. Speaking of like the blue hairs or whoever get like thinking they're getting one thing, and then the second act coming and just like smacking them across the face. This is the very evil thing that my high school did when we did it. Was we actually did like we had like all the area elementary schools like that would eventually feed into the high school. We like had all the 4th and 5th grade classes or something like that come and like for each of them, and watch just the first act, and then say, if you love this, there's a whole other act. Tell your parents to come bring you so you can see the whole show. And so now all these kids, we traumatized just scores of children that came and then just like saw Rapunzel get killed by a giant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked up, That's fucked up of your school.
Right. But it's also fucked up of Sondheim and James Lapine. I mean, like, this is kind of also a funny show in the time of where like Sondheim was. Like because this is what comes after Sunday. Which, like you were kind of saying earlier, is very much like, in some ways, like Sondheim very much thumbing his nose deliberately at the people who think he's like too, opaque or hard to get or whatever. And he's like, well, I'm gonna make a musical that's about art and what I like, artists and being an artist and being an artist and a human. And then so this now seems like a complete other direction where, at least on its face, it's a very commercial, easy to sell. Like it was probably like whatever the producers, they're like it's just like opposites almost.
But at the same time, in many ways, like I can't believe it ran for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't imagine a show like this opening in this climate, and like having that kind of run.
Well, and it had a very successful
tour.
well, in the revival when I was in high school with Vanessa Williams, and well, Laura Benanti was Cinderella in that, and she's pretty good.
That revival was also directed by James Lapine.
Yes,
which is like so.
And he still is working in direct. I mean, like that guy, he doesn't stop.
But I thought that production was like interesting to see as his, I don't know, not response, but 20 years later, just doing it again, and it wasn't as good. But
well, right, because you're always like kind of trying to recapture the magic or something, and even if you're not, you're telling yourself you're not. There's like you can't help but, I don't know, have that. Although there's lots of really cool people. I remember that like Christopher Siebert is one of the princes and stuff. I had that cast recording.
It's a great cast. It's a great cast. Mm-hmm. Terrible Jack on that cast recording.
I don't even remember. So it must have been bad.
A little boy.
Yes, a little boy. I want to call out.
Yes.
I want to call out Honeybee02 in the chat. May be another Broadway actor in the chat hiding.
Oh. Ha 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 ha!
Hiding in
I will
plain
say,
sight.
so you're the second person we've had on Broadway, because Mary Wiseman was in Therese Raquin, a very awesome play. No,
great, yeah.
That's not good. I mean, it had an amazing, really cool set. Very, very cool set. Very cool set. Which sounds it literally did. Anyway, Keira Knightley was in it. That was cool. So I want to have all of Broadway. Everybody come hang out here. This is going to be like, don't let all the real clout chasing industry people in. This is only for the cool kids. We're going to talk shit in here. It's safe. Right, Harrison?
Swings and understudies.
Harrison,
only.
any like big movers and shakers in the DC area you want to call out right now? You want to start some shit? I'm trying to make some drama.
I did plenty of that over the summer.
I know it's been a while, so that you could
July.
Get some more. Come on.
Just to plug real quick, all my tweets from June or July. That's where you'll find most of that.
A certain Broadway director, though.
I'm a Lord Head, Source Force. What's going on, Lord?
Source Force does some sort of tech. They can remind, I believe, or I might be getting that wrong. But we love Source Force. We love everybody here in the chat hanging out. Into the Woods.
Yes, of course, Source. That makes sense. Source, and they do lighting design.
Yeah. If I were to be a designer, I think that's what I want to do, because that's pretty cool, and you get to hang and shit and be really badass and be chaining stuff to. It's cool.
It scares me. It's very scary. I've done that in a black box before on the ladder. I hate it.
Yeah. We had when I did lighting crew at my college, we had just had our new state of the art black box open, so I got to walk up, and they had a full grid with the mesh that you can walk on top of fully around the whole thing, and then there's bigger crossbars that you actually hang the lights on, but you can just fully walk across the entire netting. It was pretty cool, and also terrifying. Yeah, tension grid. That's
yes.
it.
Shout outs to lighting and sound.
Oh my God!
All the most critical parts that are overlooked.
There's so much that to do, even the tiny little piano and a stool and one microphone song cycle in a black box. There's still so much that goes into doing that. So once you add any scale to it, just the amount, and so yeah, Broadway especially, is crazy. But that's sort of the wild thing then, I guess, and the sort of the reason I love it and do this show is shows like this, is that knowing what a fucking labor it is to get this shit together, to get it a final product, and then you have something that lasts though. Then you have like an Into the Woods that you can do a take on, and it like keeps going. And then like, so when all the elements, the lightning is in the bottle or whatever, then that thing gets to live on forever. And it's like, this is what like, and that's like, when you know you have a good musical, is because it gets done a bunch and it can be done in different ways. And you know, Bernadette Peters is in this show. She's one of the most brilliant musical theater actors ever. And we were talking about that. We both saw her in Gypsy, which at the time was very controversial that she was in Gypsy because she's very hot. And Mama Rose is traditionally a frumpy part, but it worked so well. It actually was so palpable for her to have fallen dreams and like to have things that she gave up. It made that all very real because like, you know, like it was, I don't know, it worked just as well. And so it's like, that's the cool thing about musical theater is like,
you know how like Bugmain has said that watching The Force Awakens, you know, was like this very jarring moment for him. That was like the Bernadette Gypsy for me, you know, because like we knew it was good, but everyone was saying that it was bad and not right. It's like the opposite of that.
Yeah. So. Right. People, I still think she was like Tony nominated or something. I don't remember if she won or not, but yeah. Oh, Crazy for You. Harrison was in a production of Harrison. Actually, so this is a fun Harrison being an understudy story. Is he had to go on for a 50-something-year-old man to do like a very old
had to do the whole mirror number.
Old man character part where he had to do like the mirror. Yeah, and very, very sophisticated dance. The guy that played the lead part, what's his name? Harrison, the actor's name?
Danny Gardner. He's amazing. He's a New York actor.
That's a great actor.
Incredible tapper. Oh my god! One of the most tour de force performances I've seen. So fucking good.
He crushed.
Yeah. So Harrison having, and then again, but you had like a few hours to like rehearse, right? Maybe if that.
Yeah, I like 20 minutes. We did it. We like walked through it in like 20 minutes with the other guy who I would be doing the whole number mirror.
And you ended up having to do a few shows too, didn't you, or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did a week. I did the last 2 days of the weekend, so it was a HO week. I did the last 4 shows.
Yeah, that is
the way to go out.
Nothing like it. And I also had a track in that show, so I didn't get to watch very often.
You were in it too. Yeah.
So I was in most of them. I was in every show. So.
That's something I can't imagine. Like having to be in the ensemble and then understudy. That seems too much, you know.
Well, that was when I was in when we did You're in Town together, and I was understudying Harrison. I also understudied these 2 other parts, and one of the parts was Beryl, who I went on for a week because the Beryl was understudying Lockstock, and the Lockstock had to go out, so it was like ripple effect. And it was a lot of fun. To like, I had no idea, like I didn't have a take on Beryl like at the time, and then I just had to like go out on stage and it was like, well, that's your take. that's what you're doing.
That's like one of those roles where you can just be like, ah.
Yeah, right. It's whatever. I mean, also just that show is just so fun. I mean, I've done that 3 times. What's a show? We're just kind of talking everything now. It just like it's just like as we fade out here until we all run out of steam, which is soon. What's a show you've done multiple times? Is there anything? Or
I don't think there is, other than like Friends shows, you know, like readings of like Friends new musicals,
or like
you know, like things that have been in development,
right?
But other than that, I'm trying to think on it.
Is there any show that
that's not true. I did do Grease in high school. I was Kaneki in Grease, and then when I did it at Paper Mill, and that's where I got my equity card, as I was telling Harrison earlier. Like that's where I was rightfully cast as Roger.
Okay.
You know, I was
Roger is
rightful place. It's the character that does not exist.
Roger is These Magic Changes?
No, he sings Mooning.
Oh, Mooning.
He's the character that they cut him from the movie.
I played Sonny in a youth theater thing.
Great role.
It was annoying though because I didn't have a song, but then they gave me Rock and Roll Party Queen, and I was like, okay, great, thanks for the bone.
And now that I think about it, I have done South Pacific twice too, where I did ensemble. when in community theater, and then I got to play Billis in regional theater.
Is South Pacific? That's not canceled. South Pacific actually has a very woke song in it. It has.
South Pacific. You can't cancel South Pacific.
You've got
South
to be
Pacific,
carefully taught. You know.
That's right. South Pacific cancels itself.
Mm-hmm.
By
Correct.
the end of the show, but it's still, of course, full of awful things.
Right. But I like to consider all the Rodgers and Hammersteins. I mean, because Carousel is a shit show.
I love Carousel. It's one
Me
of my,
too. I was gonna
love
say,
it.
Bobby, that's something I will fight about, and I actually
Do
have
it. All right.
several very hot takes
Do
about
it.
that show.
All right, go.
Characters are allowed to be bad, Bobby.
It's a show about cycles and and what happens when people like are presented with opportunities to break cycles, and you literally see it play out. Like Billy and Julie are stuck in these like parallel cycles of like Billy cannot stop being fucking abusive piece of shit. Like he literally cannot stop it. He's given a heavenly chance to stop it, and he still doesn't. Whereas like, because of society, like Carrie subjects herself to like a different kind of subservient abuse. And it looks like, I don't know. I just think the whole show's about like cycles and abuse and how like abuse affects everybody. And like, maybe they weren't thinking about that at the time, but it certainly aged into something like that.
Well, that's how you
How
have to
people-
do it. You can try to save it, but I don't know. I kind of feel like at the time they were just like, "What if he was a bad man, but then we could redeem him?"
But he's
But
not
come on,
redeemed.
look-
He
but look
goes
at- he's
back
not
to
redeemed.
purgatory. He goes back to purgatory because he comes back and within 10 seconds he makes the exact same fucking decision.
I know,
mean,
but then
like,
I'm
look
like,
at-
well, why did I spend 2.5 hours watching this? You know what I
But
mean?
look at the rest of like Rodgers and Hammerstein canon. Like you wouldn't believe that that's actually their point of view. I would
Mhm.
say based on the rest of their work. Like the rest of their work is so
Well, yeah,
introspective,
No,
like
that's-
into these.
it is
characters.
true.
And I think that like, just the fact that, I mean, exactly like I thought that what Harrison said was like perfect about cycles and how they're trapped in these abusive cycles, and they're each trying to find like their own way out. And there's it's the most non-linear, like no good guys, no bad guys kind of show. And
I
I think
agree.
that I think there's so much to do with it. And the last revival on Broadway was a travesty. It was awful.
Oh, I saw a very bad regional production of it
Did you see
around
the-
here that was heralded as being exceptional.
Did you
Yeah.
see the whatever swap meet Oklahoma? The like
Oh yeah, that's actually one of the best things I've seen. in
I've heard
years.
that.
Yeah, I heard that's sick. I heard that was really sick.
Loved that show. Loved that show. I saw I had a weird day. I was back on a layover from tour, and I saw a matinee of that. And then I saw an evening performance of Beetlejuice. And I was like, oh,
that's
what
a
a
good
great
day.
day of theater.
Now
You
that's
know?
now that's something when it gets back up, and I feel like you should go into cover for that part, right? Could you do a Beetlejuice?
I'm the ghost with the
Yeah,
most,
yeah,
baby.
I could see that. I could see that.
I don't know. I
I've
mean-
only seen most of the first act, but I loved it. I do need to go and finish it. I was like, this is fun. I like Beetlejuice.
It's a really cool show, and it was while I was on the road with Charlie. It was like the exact same, songwriter and producer.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, please. And then COVID happened.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this summer or something.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't so stupid I could figure out how to make my sound alerts work, but I'll never learn. Anything else to say about Into the Woods, which this is still the Into the Woods episode. We've kind of gone all over the place, but I love it. This is my favorite kind of episode. Matt, this is actually like, this is so cool just getting to like meet you through this show and everything. Like, it's like awesome to meet other musical theater heads, especially other Maryland musical theater boys. Like, hello, good trio here. Yeah, what else? What final thoughts for Into the... I mean, like, the truth is, if we're being completely honest, it's all God tier, baby. It's all God tier. It's all God tier. Saturday night, God tier.
God tier.
Evening Primrose, God tier. I don't care. The Frogs,
Especially
God tier.
evening-
Fuck off. Fuck off. The Frogs is
Especially
God
the
tier.
frogs. Especially the frogs. Trying to think of like something.
Yes,
like more
Jack.
absurd.
Jack, another musical theater Maryland boy. Alex,
Oh,
I'm not going to call you Maryland musical theater boy because you are too much of a hater. Sorry. I love you. Just kidding. I keep interrupting myself. Final thoughts, Into the Woods.
It's Into the Woods. God tier, absolutely. It is one of the shows that I think if I listen to it and sing along to it, like in the shower or on the subway back when we were doing that, it's like the Sondheim show out of all of the Sondheim shows that gets me crying the fastest, you know? And I think I'm like particularly susceptible to like stuff that deals with like children and like children's relationships with parents. But like,
And you see, I usually am, but the thing that always jumps out to me the most in the show is the romantic relationship stuff and all those different dynamics. And especially to me, this is a show that I rarely want to listen to out of context. I love to watch the whole thing, but I mean, no one is alone. Children will listen. Sure, no more, maybe. But Moments in the Woods and the Baker's Wife song there, I mean, that to me is top 5 Sondheim song. That is just remembering you have an or when you're back to just remembering you had an and when you're back to or makes the or mean more than it did before. That's to me like one of the very best Sondheim lyrics.
and at the same time, I think we disappoint, we leave a mess, we die, but we don't. Is like, that's always going to like fuck me up, you know, because I'm immediately going to think of my grandfather, you know, my great grandfather, my father, and like it just like there's something very like primal and like very like bloodlines about the show that like really like connects to me and like just I don't take it as a warning. I don't take it as like be careful what you say. It's like this is just what's going to happen. You know, this is like.
Well,
this is
I mean,
like
it's
what
like
happened to you.
To me,
this
like
is what stories do.
That's where the adult kind of tie-in comes in and makes it not just these stories. It's why are these the stories we tell? By like making them like living. Like why are these the ones that get passed down? Why is it that we all instantly recognize Jack and Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella? Like why? And what is it about these stories that we tell? So just telling them all outright, up against each other. And it's almost been like they didn't invent the idea of what happens in Happily Ever After or whatever. Like that's like a thing that people have been wondering, you know, like a punchline almost. But then like really then carrying that out with these people and when it gets messy. Yeah. So like to your point that you brought up earlier of having it all play out so completely in that first act and have it be the full story and have it feel so complete and finished and everything, and then have the second act have it all unravel is quite good. It is quite good, but it also makes it really long. Harrison?
Long.
I simply second and third everything that's been said. I think this is a great show. It's God tier.
Is it good,
It is a
actually?
little over. I think it's great, actually.
Yeah.
It is great. I mean, it's God tier. Well, I think that we've talked on for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I thank you all so much for your time. Thank everybody for hanging out. Just another great episode. You all are the best. Next week, I'm not actually sure. We're gonna see. Just look at my Twitter as always. The Mitch show is coming down the pike. Got a tentative. I'm not announcing anything until I know Mitch's plane has landed in LA and he's got the cats back in his apartment, and then I will know he will be coming on the show. So when that happens, we will have Mitch. But I've got lots of cool irons in the fire, cool people I'm talking to that I'm excited. Matt, so great to have you here. Honeybee, thank you so much for the follow. Please come by again. Loved having you in the chat. Everybody, yeah. Anything else, Matt? Anything do you have anything you'd like to plug or anything?
No, musical theater's dead. You know, my career's over. Follow me at Matt Woodgrams on Instagram if you want to.
Absolutely.
I'll post there every couple of months. My Twitter is like nothing.
Okay,
like
Matt Woodgrams. Find him on Insta instead. Matt, if you ever hey, try to get a job at Ford's or one of the other.
I would absolutely
Arena
love to.
or something. Come down here and we'll
I gotta get
chill.
I gotta work at that Toby's.
Oh,
You guys got an Alan Hayes nomination from Toby's, baby.
Yes.
That's where it's at, baby.
I got
Hell
COVID
yeah.
from Toby's. I went to see Godspell. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Wait, can I do 2 quick plugs,
Yes.
Robbie?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, sure. Probably. Please,
Okay,
please
yeah, I
plug.
just want to plug.
Mhm.
What? Yeah, I my band Baseball Hat has a new song out. It's called Up All Night. You can find it on Spotify. And I host a podcast every week called Good to See You, where we have creative people on to talk about life. We've had Rachel Shavkin, who directed Natasha Pierre and Hadestown on. We've had Nick Blameyer, all kind of theater people you may know. Come check it out.
Oh yeah, we
Good
got
to
to
see you,
schedule
Pop.
my. But actually now I'm not big enough. Now he's got. Too
Yeah,
much
Matt,
of a
you
big
gotta
deal.
come. You gotta come on the show.
Yeah, get Matt on. You're a great guest.
Absolutely. I'm happy to. I'm trying to do more things. I don't do anything, so
Hell yeah, I will message you. I will follow you on Instagram and
Yeah.
I'll message
Awesome.
you
And
and,
I know
we'll
you
get
said
that set up. That'd be
you're thinking
awesome.
about getting some streaming going, and I'll let you know
yes.
that it
Me
really
and my
it scratches the itch. It scratches the itch to
I'm sure,
have
and
the
I can
live and do
I
that.
can feel it from this. Yeah, me and my roommate, he's a great what's his name? He's been in the chat before. What's his name? Shambletron. He's an amazing musician, and we're gonna try and get some like musical live streams up at
Nice.
some point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well now soon, and of course Alex is also now in Maryland. He's in Frederick, and I'm going to be moving to Germantown, which is a little closer to there. So we're going to be getting to. We can make some music maybe and all that kind of stuff. Alex is going to hopefully be streaming tunes too. I'm really trying to get him. He just got a really sick monitor. I hope he posts pics of it because he's been showing that in the chat. And if you can see this, it's the widest screen monitor. It's ridiculous. All right, so I'm going to end it with the widescreen monitor. That's going to be the last thing on the show. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.